MiG-29 of the Ukrainian Air Force drops 8 SDBs, small-diameter bomb, on the positions of preparing Russian assault troops at the Zaporizhzhia front line. Ukrainian authorities have issued a warning that Russian forces appear to be preparing a major offensive in the Zaporizhzhia region, a strategic area that could become a pivotal battleground. Intelligence reports indicate Russian troops are amassing equipment, fortifying positions, and building up supply lines in anticipation of an advance. In response, Ukrainian forces are stepping up preemptive strikes to weaken Russian capabilities before they can fully mobilize. These strikes are targeting ammunition depots, troop concentrations, and supply routes, anything that could disrupt the buildup and slow the Russian momentum. By taking the fight to Russian forces early, Ukraine aims to erode their strength, making it harder for them to launch a coordinated offensive. This proactive approach is crucial for maintaining the upper hand, as each successful strike reduces the threat to both frontline soldiers and civilian areas nearby, reinforcing Ukraine's determination to defend its territory. Forbes writes that Russians are trying to drive Ukrainian paratroopers out of Ilinka village in Donetsk region and are losing a staggering amount of military equipment. Ukrainian soldiers have shot down dozens of Russian vehicles, primarily factory-built BMP-3s, and when they started to run out, older BMP-2s and MTLBs appeared. The car massacre on the road towards Ilinka helped to increase the losses of the Russian army to a record level. On November 2nd, 2006 Russian vehicles were destroyed, damaged, and abandoned. If this village and the surrounding settlements fall, the occupiers can move north and surround the Ukrainian army garrison in Kurakova. A Ukrainian kamikaze drone, Switchblade 600, hit a gathering of Russian reconnaissance UAV Supercam operators in the Donetsk region, worked by the 14th Regiment. The Switchblade 600, a powerful loitering munition, has become a game-changer for Ukrainian forces. This advanced drone can hover over targets and then dive down with precision, delivering a powerful explosive payload. With its portability and high accuracy, the Switchblade 600 allows Ukrainian troops to strike Russian armored vehicles, bunkers, and high-value targets from a safe distance, making it a critical tool in modern combat. Another video of the Russian fifth-generation Su-57 fighter jet that arrived in China to participate in the air show. Even Chinese experts are reportedly taken aback by the poor quality of Russia's Su-57 fighter jet. Known for technical issues and limited production, the jet falls short of fifth-generation standards, disappointing even Russia's allies and raising doubts about its effectiveness in combat. Russian losses in Ukraine have passed the 700,000 mark, according to figures released by Kyiv, just 77 days after they hit 600,000, according to the same source. According to Kyiv, casualty rates among Moscow's forces have surged in recent months. October saw an average of 1,307 casualties daily. According to an analysis of the Ukrainian figures by analyst Ragnar Gudmundsson, 6 of the top 10 bloodiest days for Moscow's forces since the launch of the full-scale invasion all occurred in October. The figures do not specify killed or wounded, though the overall consensus is that it includes dead, wounded, missing, and captured. They are broadly in line with estimates from Western nations, yet Russia's tactic of throwing men into what Ukrainian officials have called a meat grinder is working. Moscow seized more territory in its war against Ukraine over the past week than at any point in 2024, Bloomberg reported. With the losses growing, the situation becomes trickier for the Kremlin, which requires additional troops to continue the ongoing advances in Ukraine. While not disclosing its losses in Ukraine, the Russian Emergency Ministry on November 2 published an updated manual on how to dig mass graves during wartime. Russian military authorities are trying to walk the line between the need for more troops because of the wasteful way they are fighting this war, and also not wanting to have a real mass mobilization. Dr. Jenny Mathers, senior lecturer in international politics at Aberystwyth University, told the Kyiv Independent. It's tricky from a public relations point of view because they don't want to admit quite how dire things are, but nevertheless, they do still have to get more people in through the door to carry on with the war. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced mobilization for his full-scale war against Ukraine in September 2022. a move that proved highly unpopular and led to 261,000 people fleeing the country, according to reports. Since then, Putin has tried to avoid a second wave, instead relying on a variety of other methods to boost manpower. At the end of September, Putin signed a decree to draft 133,000 Russians between October and January as part of the regularly occurring fall conscription campaign. All healthy Russian men aged 18 to 30 are eligible for conscription and, if drafted, must serve for 1 year. While on the face of it, this would appear to be a significant boost to Russia's manpower issues, the Kremlin is actually rather limited with what it can do with these men. Conscription in Russia long predates the full-scale invasion of Ukraine and is geared more toward maintaining a domestic military force in the event of Russia being invaded. As such, there is an understanding in the Russian society that they will not be expected to fight in combat zones abroad, and civil society groups consisting of the mothers of conscripts are one of the few movements in the country that the Kremlin tolerates and actually listens to. As such, in March 2022, Putin publicly stated that no conscripts would be sent to fight in Ukraine, a statement that was proven false just 1 day later. Despite this, the Kremlin remains highly sensitive to the issue of using conscripts in Ukraine, and the majority of its fighting force has to rely on those who voluntarily sign contracts. One of the biggest motivators to get Russian men to sign up to fight in Ukraine is simply cold, hard cash, often targeting recruits from economically weaker regions or migrants. Putin, on July 31st, ordered an increase in the sign-on bonus for new military recruits to serve in Ukraine to 400,000 rubles, over $4,600. The presidential decree effectively doubled the lump sum payment of 195,000 rubles, $2,260, initially promised to recruits in September 2022. However, some regions of Russia have implemented their own even higher rates. Belgorod Oblast Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov announced that residents there will be paid a nationwide record 3 million rubles, about $31,200. According to Russia's Federal Statistics Service, Rosstat, the average monthly wage across the country as reported in June 2023 was around 65,000 rubles, $735. It's clear that it's the money that's motivating people, but the question is then, what happens when you get to the end of that pool of people, Mathers said.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.